now 7 o'clock, 7:02. Let's get the meeting started, and we are all present with the exception of Tom Collier, who I believe will be making it. You have in front of you an agenda for this evening's meeting. We have much to cover, but most of it can be done fairly quickly, I believe. So the first was to review and accept the minutes for the September 23rd meeting, which I emailed to you a week or so ago, and got a couple of comments back, at which point I prepared them. So I'd like to have a motion to accept those.
Motion.
Okay, seconded?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, that's fine, I will submit those to the town clerk. The other is procedural, and that is to officially welcome Dolores back to our committee with the resignation of Ed. Dolores will be promoted, so to speak. Your pay doesn't go up though.
Triples.
To, triple times zero.
Yeah.
As an official member, so I'd like to have a motion to make Dolores Ordway member of the committee.
So moved.
Okay, and all in favor? Okay,
Thank you.
and certainly Dolores isn't opposed to it, so that's good. So now, you're back on board. Ed has offered to still serve in an advisory capacity from the sidelines, and because he's been with us every step of the way. Good evening, Tom. Okay.
Sorry I'm late.
That's okay. We just got through first couple of points on the agenda.
Watching the Red Sox, huh?
No, I'm hobbling on this foot.
Oh.
Okay, so third point on the agenda is discuss the update on the bidding of on our memorial, the bids were sent out. Just to give you a background on that, and that would be in relationship to my attending the meeting on Monday night with the selectmen. Dolores was present for the opening of the bids on the 13th of October, and there was just one bid. It was asked, and I think that was a valid question, and I asked David Nixon, who was gonna get the bids during the bidding process, and he said that he reached out to all the previous bidders and gave them the opportunity to bid again. And he said that there is a procurement page on Facebook that they can look at, because I was concerned that, he was gonna look at Little Hubbardston and what they have to offer, but he said he did due diligence by reaching out to all the previous bidders, and one bid was received and opened on the 13th. We had offered to do whatever might be necessary to expedite the process from a standpoint of the committee, and they said the only thing they had to do was they had to check references, and David Nixon put the town to work doing that. And so as of Monday night at the selectmen meeting, they had checked the references. The selectmen asked a couple of questions, and there was one person who attended who is a local contractor, and he was questioning why we thought there was only one bid. And David Nixon explained that he had made every attempt to reach out to other bidders, and so no one bid. So on the very next day, I sent you all a copy of that. The approval letter that I received from David Nixon that he sent out to the contractor, and made him aware of it. And I have had contact with the company, Land Pro Landscaping in Leominster, and they are fully prepared to go ahead with the memorial. So we're in really good shape there. They also approved putting the banner up, and so Patrick and I went today, we put the banner up. So if you have a chance when you're riding by, take a look at it. I sent you copies of it. There are copies of it there on the table. I added a third pole in the center, just to be sure. What I did was I put it over other sign, which I think will give it a little more strength. And I also put it up about 6 or 7 inches from the ground for two reasons. Number one, snow. Eventually we're gonna have that. And number two, I liked showing the bottom of the other sign. It showed the campaign ribbon for Vietnam, so when you look at it, you will see that it is there. So everything went smoothly at the selectmen's meeting. I brought them up to date on donations. They were thrilled to hear. And as of 4 o'clock that day, on the 18th, Laurie Reed contacted me and said there was a $3,000 check from Ron Burton Training Village. So that put us up to almost $38,000. And as you know, there's been some since then. When I came last night to the special town meeting, I was approached by the police department, and the police society or association of Hubbardson is making a $1,000 contribution also. And they decided they were gonna wait until the 31st of October they're gonna present me with a check. They wanna have pictures taken. That's when we're gonna be set up here in front of the police department for the Hubbardson Hoedown, where the kids will come out and do their trick-or-treating on the main street. And we're gonna have Jurassic Park set up, and I offered to pay for all the details for the police and pay for the DJ. I think it's a excellent opportunity for the local police department to interact with the kids and keep them safe on Main
Sure.
Street and so on and so forth.
Very generous, thank you.
I'm glad I could do it. Okay, so
Well, just a couple of other thoughts regarding the donations. I just got a donation from Mike Stouter and Ben Prentice, they're cardiologists in town, $500.
wonderful.
And we still have 3 that I think will come. We have GFA, who's not donated yet, but said they would. Fidelity Bank over in Barry, that I contacted, and they're gonna make a donation as well. And Salvador's Auto is gonna make one too, so we'll have those 3 coming as well.
Right. I will tell you that I modified the banner. I covered up where it said to make a donation. The whatever that scanny thing is,
QR code.
is still there, because it does say offer information related to. So if someone wanted to contact us and they still wanna make a donation, all well and good, we're gonna talk about that. And also if they want information regarding the monument itself or the other activities that as a committee we have agreed to work on, then they can still contact us. But and I found a piece of camo that went very nicely on the banner, so I think it looks pretty good. So let's see, that is regarding the bidding on the memorial. Any more discussion on that? Any questions you might have? Yes,
I have
Laura?
a question, is this something that we should publicize? That we've got our vendor and we're moving forward?
Absolutely.
Okay,
And I thought that in addition to putting that on Facebook, that I'm more than happy to ask for a volunteer. But Tom, I think it's an appropriate time for us to do another video,
Yeah, I think so.
don't you? Yeah, that video would talk about all that, and hopefully other people would see it. I wasn't besieged, but I was approached by a number of people last night that asked about if their relative or loved one was on the list, and 3 out of 3, I remembered 2, and then I took down the information on the 3rd, and then I checked and looked back in touch with the person. All 3 were on it, but all 3 had not been contacted. And I said, well, nothing is perfect, and I'll always relate to, remember when you had that anniversary or that reunion for your high school, 50 years or whatever it might be, how hard it was to reach everybody. And so I talked about Facebook, I talked about the videos we had done, I talked about the letters, I talked about the original lists that we had, I talked about having access to the rosters, and, but not perfect. So I believe that, we should advertise that we've made
Right.
some very substantial gains, and that, that also will bring up when we get to finalizing the list of, Vietnam era veterans, is something else I wanna talk about as it relates to that, so, any more discussion on that?
I was just wondering, I think we should hold off for maybe a couple of weeks before we say we have actually, because in a couple of weeks, I think then we'll actually have it on order. The monument will be actually on order. And part of that is I gotta get the list in, I gotta get the list so I can provide them with the names, so that they're, in the font we want. I gotta take out the punctuation, and I gotta put stars in front of those that need stars, because we only have yes and no. So I got that to do, and, a couple of other things, that, do we wanna talk about the monument now, or?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell them that, a sample is on its way, and that, when we decide when the next meeting is gonna be, maybe it'll be contingent upon my having that to show you. And that is one of the steps in approval, that we gotta be happy with the font, we gotta be happy with, the lettering, and, but go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, I wanna recommend that we make the height of the monument 4 inches higher. And as I look back over the drawing and what we sent them, it's very, very tight space-wise. We wanna keep the 1-inch lettering, because that's a good sized lettering for the names. But in order to get enough on the front and the back, we're right down to the bottom of the monument. So that name is gonna be sitting almost on top of the base. You're not gonna have any space, and I don't think it's gonna look as good. And I think that if we add 4 inches, that's gonna give us a little separation at the top and a little separation at the bottom. And I think that it'll look better if we do that.
Everybody think
Yeah,
that's a good
that's-
idea? Gonna cost us any more?
I don't believe so.
It won't? You're using more material though, wouldn't it cost more?
No, because the slab is the slab. If the slab's big enough to, accommodate that, then, it's just less waste on the slab. They have a little bit more polishing and that to do, but certainly if they, provide us with a small upcharge for that, I think we're gonna have sufficient funds to take care of that, with the
Okay.
bid coming in just over 21,000.
Okay. Yeah.
The other thing was we were gonna, the size of the star,
That's a very good point, yeah.
yeah, we were gonna take a look at what size the star should be, and, we talked about having it 1 inch, which would be the same size as the letters, but, and then you talked about maybe a 1/2 inch, but I think a 3/4 inch star would be good against a 1 inch, lettering.
When I spoke last night at the special town meeting, as it relates to the grant, I thought it was necessary and important to bring people up to date on where we were and why we were doing it. And when I mentioned specifically that the letters were gonna be 1 inch high, as compared to no other memorial in town that has that, they were, I could see that, their eyes lit up, and that's just gonna make it that much more, defined. So, as a group, let's, talk about the star. What do you think? Should it be,
Gold.
you like it in gold? Yeah. No, that's for your forehead. So, do you think it should be a 1/2 inch? Remember, the letter's gotta be 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch, or 1 inch. So, let's have some input.
Visually, it will look better if it is slightly smaller.
Mhm.
Small.
typographic. The 3/4 sounds like a ideal size.
I like 3/4. Yeah.
Okay, sound good? Okay, 3/4 of an inch it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely in favor of
Ladies
that.
have the vote.
Indeed.
Okay, yeah, mhm.
You're
Guys
gonna
are
be
easy.
there with your gilding supplies
Yeah.
and gold leaf in every one of those.
Okay. Okay, so, that brings us up to my reason for going to the selectmen's meeting on Monday and a special town meeting last night. And that was, to discuss the status of the grant, with, the CPC, because it was Article 7 on the warrant. And, Monday night when I was here, representatives from, that committee were here. And, after I explained what we planned on doing, they said, well, why don't you keep it in there and just in case you need it? And I said, I believe sincerely based on, and I broke down what I felt our costs were going to be for our memorial. All rough figures except for the first figure, which is $21,100, which is the amount specifically that is on the agreement between the Land Pro and the town. And then, we talked about setup. I've sent you out information on that. That's Astro Crane in, Leominster. We've had conversations with them. Ed has too. And, they're looking at, and they've given us quote already, $2,000. $2,000 to literally store the memorial from the time it arrives until the time when it needs to be moved. And why not have it there, because they're gonna be moving it. It was nice of Go Green to offer to, store it, but now we don't need that. And that's to then, literally get it here, and totally set it up, A to Z. Am I correct in that assumption, Ed?
Yeah, I've done a lot of work with Astro Crane before over at Livingstone Foundation over in Leominster. And, they're a high quality crane company. They're insured and bonded. And, Marty Wright is the owner, and he's a good personal friend. And you know, I've done a lot of work with him, and he was nice to offer that, cause what we were gonna have to do is we're gonna have to figure out a backhoe or some way of getting, it's gonna come to us on a flatbed, and you gotta get it off the flatbed somehow. So here you're gonna have a professional taking it off the flatbed instead of us trying to figure out what kind of backhoe we need there and how we need to rig it to get it off. So it'll be safe getting it off, and they have a storage area, I believe, that's fenced in, and they'll keep it there all winter. And when we tell them when we want to install it, they'll bring it here on their flatbed, and they'll bring a 50-ton crane, and they have all the straps. And it's not an easy thing to do, because you've got to place the base down, but then when you place the base down, you gotta get whatever's holding underneath the base off. So they're very good at doing that.
And drilling the holes and,
Yeah, well, the holes will be in the base. The base, the base that we poured that will hold, let me put it, the foundation instead of the base, cause the base is part of the monument. But the foundation is spot on. I went up there with a level, and after it's settled and all that, we'll measure it again though in the spring to make sure that the frost hasn't moved it here, there, or anywhere. But then they'll put the base on first, and then we've got 4 holes drilled in the base and 4 holes drilled in the monument that are 1-inch holes, and there'll be 3/4-inch stainless steel rods that will line up the monument and the base, and that way, and we'll be securing it with epoxy as well, so that, you know, if anything hit it, nothing's gonna move the monument off the base.
Where does it get engraved? Where does it get engraved?
It's gonna get engraved by the maker of the monument.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that will be done, and when it comes, it'll be all engraved.
I see.
And good question though, Dolores. And what I'm gonna try and ask them to do is bring bring the monument face down, front face down, so that the back side, if we end up having a couple of extra names that between now and, you know, a couple weeks before Memorial Day, if we had to add names, we could just open up that area and Leominster Monument will
Add the
go over
names.
there and be able to put those additional names on before Memorial Day. I don't have a price yet from them on what they will charge for doing any additional names, but I'll get that from them. They are gonna be probably our best person to do the restoration of the other monuments. They've given us a couple of bids that are very reasonable, and I've seen the quality of their work and they're quality people, and they've done some things for me in the past from Livingstone. So I can count on the restoration being good quality.
And if you recall, we had reached out and we were looking at for repair, restoration, everything had to be done for the rest of the monuments. It was like $6,000 to $7,000, numbers were floating around. And
$6,900, yeah.
And now, with our advisor reaching out to Leominster Memorials, it appears that they gave you some prices which were extremely reasonable.
Yep.
And, you know, nothing etched in stone, pardon the pun, but literally very reasonable in terms of rebluing the cannons and cleaning up the monuments, and we were talking, wasn't it $200 a memorial, Ed?
I think it was $250
Yeah.
for just cleaning the two memorials, but also,
Very reasonable.
actually what they're gonna quote me on is, they've already quoted on cleaning, the three granite ones, the one that's marble.
Have they physically seen them?
Yep.
They have, okay.
Yeah, they've come, and I've taken pictures and sent them the pictures as well, but they've actually seen the monuments, so they know what they're dealing with. I think it was $450 to do the one that's the marble Civil War one, which is in poor condition.
It is, yeah.
It needs,
Yeah.
needs, but they know how to do things, and then he made the suggestion to me, what do you wanna do with the bronze plaques that are there? And, well, there's no sense doing 90% and leaving 10% bronze, and the one for the World War II is in pretty good shape, so I don't think that'll take much at all. But the one for the World War I, really could be furbished and look sharp. So they're gonna quote on that as well.
And the one across the street in front of the school.
Yeah, that's
Green one.
included in, that,
Mhm.
yeah, that's included as well.
So,
What one has Broken Eagle?
that's the
Civil
Civil War.
Civil War.
Civil War one.
Yeah.
Could you please remind me, what is the ceiling of cost that we can do ourselves before we have to involve the town in a public bid? Is that what-
$10,000.
10,000.
Okay, so we're not gonna be approaching that with any vendors, so there's gonna
No.
be no repeat of
Mhm.
that
Right.
nasty time.
Yes, yeah.
Good.
Mhm.
They'll all be under that.
Which the chairman of the Board of Selectmen brought up, but he was very complimentary to the committee, the way that we've organized and the progress we've made, and he said with a couple of hiccups along the way, but that all falls into play, and, you know, we picked ourselves up and got it going again, and now we're going full speed ahead, and I believe we have a lot to be so far, cause I told the group that was there last night, we established goals, and the first goal was to have the design and the funding in place by Veterans Day 11/11. So we're ahead of our goal. I didn't specify the other goal, of course, which is Memorial Day 2022, but certainly, you know, when you see all those ships hanging around the Pacific and all the backups, I don't wanna hedge our bet, so we're gonna take it one step at a time, but
That's a thought.
farther we go, the quicker we get it done,
Takes
so,
8 days to unload one ship,
yeah, isn't that terrible?
so if
Yeah.
you got 100 ships out there,
Yeah,
it's gonna be a while.
I had a friend that, on that topic, that's
a big rig driver. He lives down in the DC area, and he said the reason that they can't get out there is that it's the new laws that they passed in California are gonna require every rig to have almost a $100,000 redo of their engines. So they won't let them come into the state to get the stuff.
Cause of, smog and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 years, then they won't let 'em come
Mhm.
in.
Just a note, because of shipping, that would be, that would be the only thing that would be an unknown. And, you know, a bidder has bid, you know, appropriately, and we have a fixed bid on it. But that would be the only thing that I would ever foresee that could change, would be the shipping costs.
Yeah.
And I think the procedure then is whoever was the bidder would have to submit, that extra cost and why the extra cost to the town for approval.
Mhm. Yeah.
But that could be an unknown.
Unforeseen circumstances and what's going on, so.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to the numbers, and that is 21,000 for the monument, and that as of now is shipped, 2,000 to set it up. How much for additional names that we're gonna have to engrave on it? How much for doing all the restoration work? The bottom line is that we're in good shape. We're really in good shape, and a lot of other committees look around, they say, man, we weren't able to do what we did, so we've been aggressive, assertive, and they responded. So we have a lot to be proud of for our town.
Well, something else that Mr. Galante brought up was that anyone looking to form a committee to make change happen in Hubbardston could use this committee as an example of how to do it right.
Yeah, isn't that nice? Yeah, that was kind of him to say that. So, so basically, after Monday night, the selectmen had taken into consideration and they had to do some finagling, changes in the procedure so that it could be brought up, last night at the special town meeting. So I had to get up and say that I wanted to make a motion to pass over that particular article, and then the motion was seconded and discussion was held, and so it was indeed passed over. And based on the fact that we have been as successful as we have raising the funding, we had, you know, I ended up saying we don't need to beg, borrow, or steal, but I didn't
Right.
mean it in that way, but
That was
essentially.
interesting how it had to be voted on
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then rescinded
Yeah.
after it was voted on. That was the law, I guess.
Yeah,
the
it
way
was, yeah, they
do
had
it,
town
yeah.
council there
Yeah.
and all that rigmarole, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so, that
Right.
brings us up to,
Could I take us back just a minute to the,
absolutely,
to
yeah.
the,
Should
you
they?
know, no, I wanna talk more, I wanna go back to her remarks about, you know, having some kind of a thing to, give them the town, you know, where we are, maybe, an interview or a video. I had when I got back from, New York, on Monday, I had missed a call from our friend, the radio announcer,
Okay, yeah,
and he had.
Steve from WJW.
Yeah, and he had also tried to call you, he said, and he couldn't get you when you were, he said you didn't answer his phone. So I
Might have
called.
been in Canada, yeah.
Yeah, well, so we probably ought to re-establish contact with him and see, well, what he wanted was, he wasn't gonna get what he wanted even if he got me, because he wanted me to be there 10 minutes after the call could you get on the phone right now? I got 15 minutes, I'd like to interview you on the radio. So we just need to regenerate that.
Okay, okay,
Also, we'll need to pull that PSA because it's asking for veterans' names and donations. So if we're no longer actively seeking donations, then there's
okay.
no need
Is
for
that still playing as far as you know?
I don't know, I haven't heard it, but I haven't heard that it stopped.
Yeah.
I'll get in touch with Steve.
maybe we should prepare for when we reach the $40,000 goal, what we're gonna do online after that, or, you know.
Yeah, that comes up to, that was an upcoming item on the agenda, discuss actions we need to take to keep the process going.
Right.
And we can do that right now, so, what do we do? For example, if we have extra money, what do we do with it? I was informed by David Nixon that, Ryan doesn't like to keep money aside in a special account. And so, maybe that is a good reason to think about some of the things that we might be able to do. I am wide open for suggestions. One of the things that popped into my pea brain was a scholarship fund
Yeah.
for Vietnam era grandchildren, a grandchild of a Vietnam era veteran, and that we would follow the rules and regulations. I'm just throwing this out, rules and regulations of any scholarship, but to offer that to any Vietnam era veteran from our community, past, present, or future, that has a grandchild, that maybe we could utilize the money in that fashion. Another thing that came to my mind was, anybody get on Route 117 through Bolton at all?
I have.
Okay, and I am drawn every time I go there to pick up 495 by the banners that are on every street, every telephone pole of veterans. They have a picture of a veteran and a little name, and I thought, you know, just like Katie Young does for all the events coming up, maybe we could consider having banners up for some of our Vietnam era veterans. And now I'm probably making it a little too complicated, but I also thought that in conjunction with generating a list of photos, because right now we don't have any, but the gal that I spoke to last night, that Joanne Finial, she sent me a bunch of pictures of her dad, and that made me think. And if we have some way of reaching out to our eligible population, those who are gonna be on the monument, and ask them if they'd like to submit a photo, and tell them that on the day of the dedication, what if we had a collage out there with a whole bunch of pictures?
Right.
And maybe not even, just thinking aloud, not even any names on them, just pictures, and not necessarily uniform. I mean, just maybe some current pictures, but just pictures we know of veterans that people can look at, because as we know, many soldiers don't have a name, so to speak. Just a thought. But in conjunction with that, I am not physically ready to take this on as another project, but if we could reach out to those people who are eligible, right in the approximate number of 200, because we're gonna be talking about that, and say to them, would you like to submit a photo? And let's say 100 submitted photos, but we're not gonna be able to put up 100 along the street, but we could have that for the collage, and then possibly of that 100, have like a lottery, where if we could do 25, we could put those up. Or maybe, we have enough money, we could do the 100 and then change them around every once in a while. Just thinking down the road of ways to stimulate the town, not to take the money away from us.
Right.
Shouldn't you wait to see if the shipping's gonna cost a lot more?
I think that the shipping, we're gonna have plenty of money, I think, no matter what they charge for the shipping, but that'll give us an idea of how much we'll have left in the kitty, so.
But I also don't think that they're gonna call for the rest of the funds until after we tell them that we've got everything done that we wanted to get done.
Mhm. Yeah, that's correct, yeah, everything will be in, and then we're gonna have X
So-
amount of dollars left over, so.
When we get the project done, does the town wanna give us back what they have in escrow for us?
Oh, they'll tell us exactly
So
how
we
much.
could have our own saving account.
I'm not sure they're gonna give it back to us, but it may be still everything
Well, they don't wanna
done.
hold on to the money, right? So
Oh, I think they do wanna hold
Oh,
on to
they
it,
wanna
yeah.
hold on to the money,
Yeah.
oh, I see,
But
okay.
if we don't use it,
Yeah.
what we're told is that it could go into general funds,
Yeah,
and we don't,
oh, I see.
but
Oh,
I
see.
think that everybody who made the donation wants to go for a veteran-related,
Right.
Yeah.
and so.
Okay.
Ed, did you ever get your money back?
I have not, but it's still gonna be
You're still
part-
gonna be able to get that back?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just thought of that.
And Ed, you had another point, yeah.
Yeah, I thought, I think I like the idea of the collage type of thing, and if they could get those pictures, those should be part of the historical society. Give them to the historical
You
society.
can pass them along after.
Pass them
yeah.
along to the historical society, so they might have these. I was thinking, what happens, you know, it's always difficult to get money for Memorial Day, and Tom knows this because he ran it for many, many years.
That's right, that's true, yeah.
Yeah, and one year they
Almost.
canceled, they canceled the budget one year. And so what I did is I put some feelers out into veterans, organizations down in Worcester and ran a couple ads in the local and papers. And it was, you know, within a week, had more money than the town was gonna give me.
So you might wanna add to your list of possibilities, that we would, whatever we had left, we'd give to the Memorial Day
If we had money left over.
committee,
Yeah,
and, you know, they might be able to get an extra band or,
'Cause all veteran-related,
yeah,
everybody.
you know, and you know, every fourth year we have, or every fifth year, we have the band, you know, the high school band comes down. But when they're coming here, we have to pay for buses to get them down here.
Mhm.
Now, I was able to get the guy to, he gave me a quote, right, the one that's right down here across from, just past I think it's just past the Pizza Palace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the big yard is, they keep the buses,
and he gave me a quote, but then when I went to pay him, he said, "No, I don't need the money."
How about that?
Yeah, so
That's nice for what it's for.
yeah,
Of
so
all the ideas you floated, I think that the scholarship one would be the most difficult to execute. Because if a student presented him or herself, we would have to coordinate with who's on the list, verify lineage, and it just seems like a lot of work
Plus you-
for somebody to do.
plus you're gonna have to establish a committee to go through the applications.
That would be us.
Yes.
We would perpetuate the committee to do that, number one. Number two, if a person by the name of Bell, who said my grandfather, Mark S. Bell, was in Vietnam era veteran, what else do we need for verification?
Right,
I mean, that, if somebody told me that, and, you know, I mean,
You need to
And we'd still
verify it
have the list.
because anybody could go up to the monument and go, okay, this guy, and just say, oh, that was my uncle, that was my grandfather.
you think they try to do that?
Yeah,
Be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, we'd out them very easily,
Yeah.
cause we'd say, okay, verify it, you
The
know.
Golden Ages does
And that would be part of the
scholarships very
prerequisite, you have to
easily.
verify
They
that,
just-
your relative.
There's no big deal about
Do
it.
they base it on lineage?
You have to have, a member has to belong to the Golden Ages and their grandchild does it, but it's not a big deal. It's just a few names every year and this one
Yeah.
gets it. I mean, it's
Mhm.
not a committee or anything. They just give it out easily.
it also becomes complicated, cause I've been on a couple of scholarship committees for the Lions Club and for Quabbin. And so, you know, now let's say you have $2,000 left over and you wanna give two $1,000 scholarships and you end up with 15 applicants.
I suggest we table it until we
It
find out which one we
gets
actually have.
difficult.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Then
Okay.
we get an idea what we could do with it or not do with it.
Here's my thought, and that's all tied in, and that is, how do we reach out to those 200 people again, these 200 Vietnam era eligible veterans, to offer them that opportunity to submit the photo, and how do we reach them again? Now, one way of doing that would be when we verify this list, and once we verify it, that's gonna be the next step on the agenda, and everybody's comfortable with it, we're gonna vote on it, and then at that point, we have a finalized list, with the exception of what might transpire with additional names. What about publishing that list on our Facebook page and making that offer regarding the photo? In other words, if you'd like your photo to be on the collage, now, we can think about that next meeting, but that's a lot to swallow, but that, unless, who else has an idea of how we could reach those people again? I mean, we have the original applications and,
Cost us $500 to reach them the first time.
so how do we reach them other than what I've suggested?
You'd have to call them, send them letters. A lot of them, I'm sure, don't use social media.
That's gonna be a tough. So,
But I think we should do it. I mean, I love the idea of having the
Yeah, I do too, and
collage and,
you know, the truth of the matter is that, you're not gonna get all of them.
that's correct.
And some, there's gonna be people that you don't get that would like to have it, but we don't have to have a deadline.
No, cause
I mean,
that's,
it could be 2 years afterwards, and the guy says, how come I didn't know about this? And well, because you probably don't read your paper, or you don't, however, if you want your picture, send us a picture.
but with the idea of having that collage for next May, 30th, when we dedicate the memorial, how do we reach them between now and then?
Well, I think you have to, just get on everything. You know, get on our social media. I don't know that we have to, well, you know, I'm, and I know you probably are too, a little hesitant to start throwing names out on internet, but it's gonna be on a piece of granite
Forever.
No,
forever.
it wasn't that I don't want to publicize it, it's that doesn't seem like an effective way to reach the people you're trying to reach in order to get the photos being sent in.
I realize that. That's why I'm up for, but it's one way.
It is one way, yeah.
Sarah?
The thing about posting the list on Facebook, you know, for people to be able to verify it, the only thing that makes me think twice about that is there are several people that said no to permission to publish their name on that
Even though
questionnaire.
their name's gonna be on the
Right,
memorial?
yeah. I mean, the question was on there and they circled no, so, you know.
I think it was more that they didn't wanna be contacted for the interview part of it, or additional solicitation, or.
Right. Well, I know, I mean, the questionnaire, I think, I'm
No, but
pretty sure it said
says
permission
no.
to publish your name on our Facebook page.
Okay, is that, I think it was it?
Yeah, it mentioned, I mean, I don't have
The
it,
application
you know,
form.
but it, there were two questions, include your name on the monument and then publish your name.
what
On
about,
the Facebook.
just generally speaking, just a general, the one liner saying that we're considering, putting up pictures of everybody that was on the monument that was willing to send us a picture.
That's a post we could make,
Without
and,
the name,
and we
without
could,
names or
we could
anything.
do that and
Without
say,
names.
hey, if you're one of the ones that, you know, is eligible, and you'd like to have your picture, and perhaps,
And the name on back of the picture.
yeah,
What if they want their picture back?
we can make a copy of it, that's for sure.
You could send,
Yeah.
yeah, they could send it, okay.
And
Yeah.
maybe we could, start by a couple of, you guys giving us your picture, and we could put that on as a thought, just to let people know that we're doing it, so.
Which rank? Ensign, Lieutenant JG,
Yeah.
Lieutenant?
Oh, now you gotta be funny. I gotta put, yeah, I'll put one name, maybe, just put one rank,
Uh,
bottom.
but, yeah. So,
So what do you want, a picture?
yeah, and we could, put that and said, we are reaching out to those who are eligible to have their name on the memorial. If you would like to have, send us a picture.
Who do you?
Well, we can have a contact, and I'm certainly willing to take the pictures, whether they come electronically or otherwise. And what we're gonna use them for, and that would be the collage and potentially to put up the banners in town, so, but shall we table that for the time being and talk about it at the next
Yeah.
meeting?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me think about that a little bit.
Okay, but I don't want this to end without covering as many bases as we can to provide coverage for these men and women. And I think that, don't ask me why I thought about the collage, cause I think about a funeral, but, you know, they have pictures of the people, but, I thought that where I believe we did not have a Memorial Day service last
Right.
year, that we'll have a good turnout, more than one reason for people to turn out and see what we've done on the common, to see our Vietnam Veterans Memorial. I think we'll have a good turnout, I'm positive of that, so.
I'll send you a picture suitable for framing.
You will, huh? Yeah,
I
okay,
know- I
without
know-
any horses or
No, this is in Vietnam, but there might be a dog in it.
Okay, that's okay, yeah, well, I'll be able to tell what the difference between.
You definitely will tell the difference.
Yeah, you know,
Definitely
the
tell
dog,
the difference.
yeah.
Well, figure
Steve,
it
would you
out.
consider a picture?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, yeah, then send me a picture. You scan, I just send it to my email and that's a start,
I don't know how to do that.
Yeah,
okay? And you'll get me a picture once you
Okay.
can.
I would say, based on my experience of collecting lots of information from lots of people, that your deadline for submissions would actually be at least a month before you wanna show it, because after your deadline, then everyone's gonna suddenly remember it. And you're
So
going.
give them a deadline, yeah.
Give them
I agree.
absolutely, you give them a
Yeah.
deadline, I would say 2 months before you're gonna put, 2 months before Memorial Day, that is the deadline.
Mhm.
The real deadline is 1 month before Memorial Day. And what usually happens is that people will send a lot of different quality images.
Mm.
Some will be super sharp digital images, great. Some will be junk that gets pulled off the internet that's really pixelated and won't look very good. Some might send you a photocopy of a photograph that they don't want to part with. So when you assemble them all together, it won't look uniform, and that's okay.
Yep,
But
that's
some
okay.
people might not like the way their image turns out next to someone who has been able
Well,
to provide
but-
a higher quality
Mm.
picture.
But again, they said it.
Yep.
If they didn't like it, they could.
I mean, it's not like it's gonna be something permanent that's gonna sit outside there.
Yeah.
It's just for,
Mhm.
But the,
So for starters, Tom, Steve, Bill, okay,
they might not-
send us pictures.
I'm only laughing because, it's really off the topic, but
I'll send
we
you
had
that,
a-
Fred.
was a bunch of us were sitting around that have been showing sheep for, I don't know, years while we were over in New York, and the topic of pictures came up, and so that one of the ladies asked, okay, so what's the best picture you've ever had taken of you in regard to showing sheep? So I knew exactly what mine was gonna be, so I just waited until it got around. I said, okay, well, you see, there was this family, we were in at the Big E, but there was a family wedding just before it. And so I had to have a tux. I didn't have a tux. So I rented a tux. And so I went to we went to the party, and on the way back, all of our sheep were already at the Big E, and our camper was there, everything was there, because we didn't have time to go back home. And so we had two kinds of sheep. They were all merinos, but we had a flock of black ones and a flock of white ones. I was showing the black ones first. And we had this ram that was the most gorgeous thing you would ever in your life see. I mean, his horns were perfect. He was jet black, and he was just incredibly good looking ram. So I had one of my friends stand outside the ring and watch all the other black rams, because they always take the yearling rams first. So she's holding this ram, and they keep calling that Greenwood Hill Farm entry. We're going to close the. So just about the time they were going to close, I walked in from the other side of the barn, black cowboy boots, black tux, black cowboy hat, and
Black
I
ram.
showed black ram showed the whole flock. Man, I never won so many awards in my life. And all the other guys were
Oh.
saying, "That's not right."
You're cursing you, right?
That's cute.
Cursing.
And I do have that picture, but I won't send that one.
Yeah, yeah. Ed,
Yeah, just, I know you're gonna take it up at a different meeting, but just two thoughts.
Yeah, that's,
One, I think you run into a lot of privacy issues when you start putting names on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, I brought up the application and it says, may we publicize your inclusion on the monument via social media and press releases and other public relations outreach, yes or no?
okay, that was the second question.
well, that was the one I was referring to,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
that
And when they say
multiple
no, they
people said
mean
no.
no for all of
Right.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
unless
I mean,
we
you
wanna
can't
take
judge
them
what you-
off the list and publish the ones that say yes,
No,
but,
No.
yeah, then it
no.
gets
No.
weird.
The other thought I had was, we just did a 60th reunion, and what we did was we digitized the pictures, and that way, instead of having to make a collage out of them, you could digitize the pictures and throw them up on a screen, and I think we had a 2-second or 3-second delay, and the pictures just rotate and run.
And everybody's laughing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We've changed a lot.
Yeah.
But you could, I mean, if you had, if you wanted to do something like that for Memorial Day, that's not a hard setup to do.
Oh, I see what you mean, in other words, having it, set up and having it, yeah.
And you can start it during the parade and just let it run.
So we'll talk about that in the
Yeah.
next meeting, and we're gonna talk about when that meeting's gonna take place, so. All right, so we're gonna table, well, we're not gonna, publish the list of names on the Facebook, but in between time, I might do, a posting. I'll check with you beforehand and, to put on Facebook regarding the potential of submitting photos.
Yeah, there's no reason not to ask them.
Yep, and, if we get a couple dozen, wonderful. I mean, those are the ones we'll use, so, okay. Now, getting to, something we have worked on for a long, long time, and that is the listing. And, Sarah was able to, compile, revise, update, the listing, and, she got that to me today. I sent it to you today, rather than take the chance that you did not have the opportunity to look at it. I want this to be the most open document that we could ever have, and I want to have consensus on where we go from here. So in regards to that,
You don't have
I
one?
made
I
copies.
didn't bring it with me, but I have.
Oh, he gave these to us, Tom.
Yeah,
Oh,
did I?
gave
No?
you-
Tom doesn't have one of these.
Okay.
Is it not underneath that sheet? No, the agenda?
I made up
Yeah, it
7
was-
copies, and I
Under
thought,
your
It's in front of you.
Yeah,
no, okay,
I wouldn't know what I was looking at.
Yes, I have
anyway.
mine.
Here you go.
He's got it.
You- okay.
Orange slate
All right,
back.
yeah.
Okay.
Are you all set? Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. I thought I made up enough copies. All right, so when I, coordinated this with Sarah, I gave her 3 sets of information to work with. The first consisted of, around 15 names where it necessitated additions, deletions, modifications in the last list that we had, which was back in August, okay? All of those have now been incorporated onto the list that you have in front of you. That included, in a couple cases, changing an N to a Y, and the opposite, for example, at the last meeting, Dolores mentioned that, Al, her husband, had not served in Vietnam, so we made that change, but, all of those changes have now been incorporated. They are on the list, and, so that was the first group that I asked her to incorporate that. All of those, I feel very comfortable, whether it was from an obituary, talking to a family member, talking to the veteran himself, reached out in many different ways. So, many of the, entries here are now updated and, in my opinion, are correct. That was the first group of names that I asked her to work with. The second group of names were from the previous list. They were highlighted in yellow and, but will not be included, therefore they have been taken off the list. And those were 3 names. That was, Stephen Chapman, William Chapman, and Bruce Coffin. I verified that none of those individuals had served on active duty, and therefore those names have been removed. Okay, so far so good?
Yep.
Okay. The third group that I asked her to remain with the highlighted yellow was, a group that I was unable to verify. I asked Sarah to leave those on the list, and they still remain in yellow, and that is Daniel Baxter, Joseph Brulard, and Kevin Drury. I have been unable to contact any of them, one of which, though, Joseph Brulard, we did have a copy of the DD 214, but it was highlighted in yellow. Do you remember why that was highlighted in yellow, Sarah?
I don't remember why.
So, therefore, but Daniel Baxter, now tonight, Dolores says
Yeah.
that as far as she knows,
I would ask Claudia if
Yeah,
it's the
okay.
same Daniel Baxter that
and,
did the eggs and everything
I
over there.
called
for
Claudia
years.
today,
Wow.
because we chatted last night, so I can call her
Yeah,
again
yeah.
and ask her if she has access. So I will continue to research Daniel Baxter.
And Kenneth Drury, I do believe I know who he was, and I don't think you'd be able to find him. He was kind of a renegade person with a big history in
Okay.
town, so I
Okay.
don't know if you,
Alright,
as a police officer, ever ran into him, but.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Got
I'm
into
sure I
it.
didn't.
What did,
so-
Anyway.
what did the DD 214 show?
For Drury?
Yeah. He- I'm
cause we
surprised
had a
he
DD
got one.
214.
Right. That could have been one that I just looked up and we never got in contact with him.
So you do have, you believe,
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have put DD 214 if I didn't look at their DD 214.
It
So,
would tell
But he
you if
did.
he was in Vietnam or.
oh, this is the one. I couldn't. There was no verification of Hubbardston residence.
but you know
But
the,
if you know he did, I believe
Yeah, but he,
that might have been
there
with
was
the
a lot of
Brule
trouble
or
that followed him, and I wouldn't be surprised. You say you got the DD 214, so I mean,
right.
he must. I don't know. I just think I know that because we just.
you knew the
used-
name, you knew
I
of
know
the person?
the Drury
Okay,
guy,
so
yeah, and from
therefore,
working at the hospital too. I remember
Mm.
that guy.
okay,
I remember when he tried to repeal the seatbelt law and let the air out of my tires because I didn't sign the petition.
yeah, I remember that if I were
He
you.
lived on High Street and was married to, what's his name that just passed away, his daughter, Cheryl, up at the end of the street, you don't know, okay, he's not listening.
You said you, in the DD 214, it definitely says he was in the service then, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, so
I,
we
get, I
got
think
that part.
I'm pretty sure the ones that had the DD 214, I just couldn't verify that they
Yeah, he
lived
was
here.
floating around Hubbardston,
he always had
Oh,
okay.
fatigues on and he was,
but he was around Hubbardston.
yeah, yeah.
So, we got
17
almost
was
2
the
things,
Sox,
that he was in
Okay,
DD 214 and
Yep.
that he was floating around here.
yep,
Yeah.
okay. So as a committee, do you want to include, let's go from the Kenneth Drury, should we include him on the list then?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
all agreed?
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Alright,
reason to
alright,
say
let's go back.
Yeah.
How about Joseph Brulard?
yes, yeah.
Okay, alright, and what about Daniel Baxter?
see what Claudia says.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
yeah.
I'll verify that third one, but now you know for a fact we're gonna include those two.
okay.
Okay, so, and we have therefore only that one name, and I'll reach out to Claudia, let me write myself a note. And then I'll let Sarah know, and I'll let you know, Ed.
Let me know as soon as possible, because here's what I gotta do. You know, we're gonna have maybe 22 to a panel, and there's gonna be 8 panels, there's gonna be 4 in the front and 4 in the back, and they're gonna be alphabetical. So I've gotta get these in panels to be able to submit for engraving. And they'll just take those panels that I give them, so it makes a big difference because, you know, I can't start until I can't pull him out, you know, cause then everything shifts around, so.
Okay, so here's what I'm gonna ask you as a committee. If I get in touch with Claudia and she can't give me any information about Daniel Baxter,
No,
we leave him off?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can always add them if worse comes to worse.
Good idea, we can always add them if worse comes to worse. So therefore, the only other component is on page 5, the last page. We've talked about this before. This was, do not include, and there were 6 or 7 names there. And we talked about, potentially asking them again, cause these are the ones that said they didn't wanna be on the memorial. And I mentioned it at previous meetings, I said, does anybody wanna volunteer to do that? Or do we leave them off? Do we say, had your chance, you said no?
I'm not gonna volunteer because I've tried with 2 and they both told me, look,
Yeah,
I told
think
you
if
no.
they're that hard-nosed about it, they're not gonna change their mind.
Steve, you feel the same way? Okay, so we all agree as a committee that we will not include those names?
Right, we could always add it, worst case.
Once
worst-
again, we can always add it,
If
so.
someone changed their mind.
Alright, well, with that in mind, if my calculations are correct, we are just around 200. So, and I don't wanna give an exact number, but I think it was 203,
I thought it was 208.
no, I think it was,
Yeah, but that is before I took a few of them off.
okay,
So,
cause
yeah, I
when
didn't
you
look at the
sent me
total.
that list today, the last name on the list was Donald Zambezi,
Yes.
and that was 203.
Does
So-
it count the top? That top line, the name and branch, is that line 1?
You know, I don't know.
Oh.
I know when we copied it, the numbers don't come up.
Yeah.
so-
I have a question about this too. I noticed, cause I alphabetize them automatically in Excel, so I noticed some of them are swapped. The suffix, where are we putting that?
Okay.
Cause I noticed for White, I have it White Junior, comma Lester.
Yeah.
But if we're not using punctuation, wouldn't
Okay,
it go
Ed,
at the, would it go, are we doing first name?
First
Then-
name, last name.
First name, last name, space, first name, space, initial, space, senior, junior, whatever.
Okay, so okay.
At the end.
So I'll change that, cause White, I have it,
Is it easy for you to take out the punctuation?
yeah, I can you want me to take them out of the spreadsheet so I can just send you that and you can send that to them? Because the
Well, I mean,
the branch and the verification don't,
if you're gonna have to
matter.
take them out manually, I can do that. I mean, if you
Alright.
can't, I don't know whether you can say in this column, remove punctuation.
yeah, I would just do a search and replace.
Easy.
I can do that. It takes
That'd help.
10 seconds,
Yeah.
yeah.
What's a bonus application? What's that?
Oh, for like a state bonus, like welcome home when you separate from service.
Yeah, they give you X amount of dollars as a mass resident. You never got it? You got it too, yeah. They send you a check, I think it was $200 or something.
Why is that on here though?
It was
Well,
3.
that's how I verified his
Oh,
I think
service.
it was
Oh, I
3
see.
And that's what was
if you
uploaded in the
down and
system.
2 if you didn't go.
Yeah, whatever, yeah,
Yeah.
they send you a check.
I see.
So
Sarah,
getting
is it
back to the
possible-
list,
Sarah, is it possible, that where you've got, in country,
Mhm.
is it possible there you could just, say, in that column, if there's a Y in this column, put a star in front of the
Yeah, I
name?
can replace the Y with a star and then just take out all the N's if you want. Would that be easier, or?
Well, the star's gonna have to be in the front.
Just move the column.
Yes, yeah, so move that, the in-country to the left column? Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
can do that.
instead of putting a Y, put
A
a
star.
star.
That's fine,
Okay, that helped me a lot.
yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Now,
Yeah, okay.
Are you setting this up in columns in Arial because you want them to know what it's supposed to look like, or is that because that's what they ask you to do?
Both. I'm hoping that they could just take these panels and perhaps put them right into their CDC machine and be able to, they're gonna create a stencil from what we give them.
'Cause
And they may be able to do it without having to manually put it in again. I would like to say though, is once I get done with the panels, I'd like to have somebody else proofread them
Absolutely.
and give me a go before we go.
And we'll just send a copy to all of us and we all proofread it. Well, it's better than two could screw up, but it's pretty unlikely that all of us are gonna not come up with anything. This is a mistake.
Well, what I was driving at is that often printers and engravers need their artwork in a specific format. So unless they've specifically asked for it, you might be wasting your own time to set it up that way, or you might be supplying them with something that they can't use. So if you can get from them what they need, then you can set it up in that format.
If I get these, without lines and that, I can just take those and it's gonna be a Word file.
If that's what you prefer, I can
Well-
send you any kind of file
Yeah, if you
want.
send me
Right
a
now
Word
it's in
file,
Excel.
I can just go over the whole Word file and ask for Arial, bold, round, and it'll
Right.
change them all.
But if you send a Word file to a company that's using a CNC machine, they're not going to be able to use a Word file. They need to have it in a specific format to use on their machinery.
I'm not
So-
gonna be able to send it in their software. If they can't image it and put it in, then they're gonna have to put it in themselves.
Well, if you find out what they need, maybe you can provide it to them in that way in the first place. So if they just need a text file because they have all the systems to set it up, then that's the simplest. If they need a graphics art file, like something that would be similar for print, then I can help with that because I've got that kind of software.
If you have the same software they use, yeah. I can ask them what software they want it in.
Yeah, ask them what file format they need.
Okay.
And if they need it laid out, because if they need it laid out, then usually Word isn't the best way to do that. It's easy for you because you use it, but from a graphic arts standpoint, it's never used for page layout. And I wouldn't
You'll
wanna
check
see-
with them, okay? So
Yeah, I
you'll
wouldn't
be
want you to waste your
coordinating, with Sarah on
Yeah.
this, in terms of getting the final list in the format.
Yeah, and
Now,
we gotta
going
do-
back
we gotta-
over-
We gotta do it as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, going back over the list, there were 6 things that I noted that needed to be changed, and I put those in red. Sarah, you saw where.
Yeah, I must have missed those.
That's okay, that's why I
Yeah.
looked at it, that's,
Bit
you know, it's
hectic, so.
difficult to proof your own stuff, so everything I put in red, you saw there, were little changes, and that was with, Hobart Clark, and then, definitely, you see all those in red, you're good with those?
Yeah, I thought I did change Nancy.
To a what?
Candace.
Yeah.
I thought I changed it to a Y.
Uh,
Maybe I misread it.
Yeah, it's definitely an N,
Okay, cause that's what
We
her DD
started with an
214
N.
said.
and then when I spoke with Gary, he gave me the impression that,
She
Uh,
was in country.
she was in country, but
Right,
she was
okay.
actually in Germany, definitely an N,
So, alright,
okay, cause
got
we
it.
wanna be accurate, so.
right.
So you see each of those little, changes, and, with the Schindler, you know, that was reversed, but that
Right.
had something to do with
Yeah, I don't know
and
why
then
it did
the
that.
weights, but,
USA, US Air Force,
no, USA is US Army,
the what?
US Army,
Oh,
and USAF would
Oh,
be
okay,
Air Force.
okay. Oh,
Okay, all right, now, with that in mind, we need to be unanimous in our thinking here. I would like to have a motion and have it seconded that we are in accord with this will be the final list, with the exception of that one name, which I will check on tomorrow, Daniel Baxter, and report back to Sarah and Ed, that this is based on all of our research and all of our outreach. This is the list we wanna go with to be represented on our Vietnam era memorial. So I'm looking for a
So
motion.
moved.
Okay, seconded, okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, unanimously, we agree, this is the list.
I got a question on the Schindlers.
Yep.
You get the arrow where they're kind of,
Yeah, that's gonna be only because, it was an alpha,
it's cause
it wasn't alphabetically correct.
Oh, I
Cause it
see.
was Fred first and then Lawrence second,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay.
So that was a lot of work, and I make reference to, once again, when you're trying to do a reunion and you're reaching out and people are all over the universe, and I mean that sincerely. So, that's good, that's a lot of weight off my mind, thank you. The next was, we've already talked about it, what do we need to, keep things going, and also, what about our fundraising efforts? Where do we, Ed has given us an idea of, we're gonna have some other funds coming in, and, where do we go from here? Do we stop taking money? Do we make an announcement that we have plenty and we really appreciate it? Do we, just allow it to continue to come in, and then we're gonna have more left over in the end, and then we'll have the options that we talked about before? I'm open for discussion.
My recommendation would be that we stop taking them on Memorial Day 2022.
So up to and including the actual, what we hope to be the dedication and reveal. Okay, further discussion?
Do we wish to change the wording? Right now it says help build a monument. This is on our town
It's
website.
It moved.
Got a woods there.
Do you like it?
Yeah, yeah.
That's
One-
that
one-
pond off of Streeter
Yeah,
Road.
but we can't get all the names on it.
Try this.
Once we reach $40,000, I think we need to put that on the town website that says we've reached our goal.
And then what?
And just,
Well, then
that's
people
it.
probably would not,
But we can say we'll still accept donations,
I think you
what
just
end?
let them come. If they come, they come.
okay, and
And-
the
and
end
I
would
don't
be,
think-
that
yeah.
we would put on the table until Memorial Day 2022.
And once we decide what to do with the rest of it, I think that could be advertised and people might wanna contribute more.
I might inspire them to do that, it's exactly
Right.
right.
I don't think we should say no to
No,
anything.
I know. You know, and last night at the meeting when I spoke, I said, if you'd still like to make a donation, you can, cause there's still people that still didn't know about it, and, they would still like to participate.
Well, I mean, to me, there was the issue about the Memorial Day parade and and budget. I mean, if we've raised the money, and he doesn't wanna put it in some, little set out there, put it in the budget for Memorial Day. And if it's, and then you don't have to budget the damn thing until you run out of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, we leave it just at the thermometer at 40 and say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
To be, cause it's obvious we've reached our goal, because it says that we've reached our goal of
Mhm.
40. And then still take donations if people wanna donate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we
Okay.
need to change the wording?
Well,
Help us build.
Well, we might have to add names.
How about,
Oh,
we have mentioned, on Facebook that we are doing other things with the money, and that is the restoration. And so if we continue to emphasize that we have every intention of putting the money to good use for veteran-related projects.
right, something like that.
And I'll run the wording by you guys before I put it on. Ed?
I don't think, from having been on the committee, I don't think it's the committee's mission to continue to fundraise for other things. I think it was your mission to do the monument, and, once we tell them that we've reached our budget, for for the monument and for restoration of the other monuments. If something trickles in, so you add it in, but I don't think it's the mission of the committee to continue to fundraise for something else that you might like to do as an add-on.
So you think we should put wording in on Facebook or something that we've reached
I
our
think
goal?
we should say congratulations, we've reached our,
But we're still gonna continue to accept donations.
I don't
Sounds
think you
better.
need to put that, I think all you have to do is
Just
put
congratulations.
congratulations, we've reached our goal.
Yeah.
We feel confident that, with our goal that we'll be able to do
And thank the townspeople
a
and
great,
everybody.
a great
Yeah, that I can
monument
take care of.
and,
That's it.
and do the restoration and thank you for
Yeah.
all
They
being
can
so
always
generous.
volunteer to send money. if
And
they
then
really
when we,
want to.
when we get a donation, do we turn it back to them?
No,
Well, you put it in
not
total.
until May 30th, 2022. After that, we establish that as a deadline, so.
So,
Okay.
for my purposes, I should do nothing, wait until you keep sending the group the tally as it
Mhm.
increases. And when it reaches $40,000, then I turn off the active fundraising, or do I
Yeah,
leave
yeah,
the,
say congratulations, yeah.
or do I leave the electronic fundraising, application open?
What do you think? I say take it off.
Just say we reached our goal and
You said you're ready,
Yeah,
if that's what you
just
wanna
take it
do,
off.
you can.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So electronic
Because you're gonna
fundraising
keep
ends
collecting
at the
checks
$40,000
forever.
mark.
Huh?
That
if
active, that
we don't,
electronic
you're
fundraising.
gonna
Keep
keep
going
going
on.
on and on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. We're pretty close to 40 anyway, I think we said.
We're over 40.
Then I
Are we?
would just take it off.
Oh, so right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah, well, that $1,000 coming in from,
You know,
Police,
the
yeah.
Hubbardston Police Association, and
Yeah.
what is gonna come in when you next get in
Yeah,
touch.
I'm gonna be going in there pretty soon. She
And,
hasn't called
what
me,
Ed is
that's why
talking
I'm not.
about the other donations coming in,
She usually, she calls me and lets me know when she wants me to come in and
Great.
take the thing,
great.
when they're ready to do
So
this business with the
It's not,
checks.
it's not legally over there, but it's, we know it's coming.
okay,
Yeah,
so
not officially, but
do
it's
you
coming.
want me to kill the page now?
I
Or
would
do you
say
want
so.
to wait until Bill's official?
What do you think?
Just a congratulations, and we've reached our goal and our
Right.
purpose,
Yeah.
and
It's up to
thank you
you.
to the town of Hubbardston for everything they've done for us.
Well, I wouldn't do that till you got that money in. and-
Officially?
Yeah.
Okay, wait until we know for sure.
Alright, as soon as I come up with yeah, as soon as I send the documentation.
As soon as we know that the ones that people have pledged are in, then shut it off.
Okay, good. We'll know fairly soon.
I'm gonna notify, I had filed for a $5,000 grant with Barry's Savings Charitable, Foundation, and they were gonna review it in December, so I'm gonna tell them, to withdraw the,
Yeah, cancel.
Yeah.
withdraw the grant request.
Okay, anything else we need to talk about, wanna talk about? The next would be establishing a meeting, a next meeting. I'd like to have that to show you the sample when I know it's well on its way. I give you a week's notice, is that enough time normally?
Yes.
Okay, all right, then that's what I'll do. And, cause that, we have to let them know we're happy with it, so they can go further, so, all right? Any other topics of discussion? Okay, the meeting,
You don't know when you're,
no,
Next
because,
one,
I know it's forthcoming, so.
alright.
Okay, so the meeting comes to an end at 8:20 PM. Thank you very much for investing your time.